Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to Tuesday Tea. Hopefully you have your tea with you. I certainly have mine. It's a bit chilly today here in Kelowna, although I can't complain. It's supposed to go up to 11 degrees here tomorrow. 11 degrees Celsius for our American friends. I don't even know what that is. Anyways, it's warm for the beginning of March. So we're quite lucky here in Kelowna. We're starting to think about getting the garden ready. Speaking of getting the garden ready, it has been a LinkedIn season for me. So the past 5 weeks, I've done a ton of content around LinkedIn. A lot of it, of course, as a springboard to my digital course called Profile to Profit. Enrollment for that course ends on Thursday night. And then next week, we're starting a lot of content around personal branding, in particular around how to deliver some of our branding messages. So I'm super excited about that. Not that I haven't been excited this month, because I love talking LinkedIn, and it's been a lot of fun digging deep into the guts of LinkedIn. So this is kind of sort of the wrap up to all of my LinkedIn content. And we're talking about the 3 strands that weave together to create a cohesive LinkedIn story. So that's what we're talking about today. So this shouldn't be confused with my masterclass, which talks about LinkedIn content strategies. And I outline 9 different strategies in that class. There is still very limited room in my last masterclass, which is taking place tomorrow at this time. If you would like a spot, you can sign up at leannecolderwood.com/webinar. But this Facebook Live today is not about content, but rather it's about I'm calling it their strands. And here's why I'm calling them strands of your LinkedIn story is when these strands start, you can weave them together in a braid. That's kind of the imagery and the analogy I'm using is you're weaving these 3 strands together into this cohesive, beautifully designed braid, which becomes your LinkedIn profile. So that's kind of why I call it that. It really works well to bring those 3 elements together, the 3 strands together. So the first strand I want to talk about are the visuals that are on your profile. And there's so many opportunities to incorporate visuals on your LinkedIn profile. The 2 obvious ones, of course, are your profile picture, right? But there's also that background photo or banner photo, as you may hear it called. These are prime pieces of real estate to hook your reader and draw them into your story. So there's a number of different ways that you can design your banner, but remember the purpose of the banner is not only to be brand cohesive with you and your organization, but it is also to draw them further into reading more about you. But aside from those 2 obvious places where you have your visuals, there's visuals that flirt in and out of your profile from top to bottom. A lot of people use little emojis to kind of break up the copy a little bit. I actually do that. Some people love them, some people hate them. It's a personal preference and what you think your ideal audience would respond to. But those emojis do break up the eye and create more of a cohesive read where you have your reader's attention and it sparks a little energy in them. I know for me, when I see emojis, and a couple of my colleagues use them really, really well, it really does. It makes me happier and makes me feel better. So you can start to use emojis in your copy either as bullet points or as dividers, and it helps break up the copy and give your readers a bit of a visual element. But the other visuals, of course, within the copy themselves is your featured section. This is a section that falls right below, I should check where it falls right below your about section, I believe. And not everyone has the featured section, but if you have access to the featured section, you've got access to create some and upload some incredible visuals, again, to bring people into the story. And what I love about the featured section is these are your storytelling pieces. This is where you can link out to your website. I'm linking out to one of my YouTube channel with one of my featured pieces. I also link out to a PDF. You can link out to a blog post. You can also link out to posts that you've created on LinkedIn, especially posts that you feel got a ton of great engagement, or a LinkedIn article that got a ton of great engagement. You can include that in your featured section. So that is another incredible way to use visuals on your LinkedIn profile. But there's also other visuals that you can include. So if you scroll down, you can also upload media in your work experience. So again, it doesn't become this run-on copy of words that people are going to get lost in, but you're breaking it up by including some pieces, some media pieces right in your work experience. So that's strand number one, are the visuals. Now, strand number two, I've already alluded to it and I've kind of talked about it already, but strand number two is the copy. So if you look at the visuals, strand number one, the visuals as being the hook. Strand number two, the copy, is what the story is. And you need to keep the story engaging from the beginning or you're going to lose your reader. So copy starts right at the top, including the copy that you put in your background photo or your banner. So it can start within the visual itself, but the second best place to include that copy, which is a really great way to hook your reader, is in your headline. And I know I talk about headline a lot, but here's why I talk about it a lot is I feel so strongly that this is what really brings people in to read on further about you. If there isn't anything compelling in that headline that speaks to the person that you want to talk to, they will flitter off of your profile before even hitting your about section. So you want to make sure your copy in your headline is talking to the right people and using language that's going to encourage and entice them to read on further about you. Now, the about section, of course, as you know, that's the big chunk of copy. It's 2,000 words. It's the best place to feature everything and anything about you. But again, make sure that your kitchen sink and your about section speaks to your community. Don't just use the 2,000 words to use them, but if you have a strong message, use every single word that you can. I love the about section. Like I said, with the first strand, the visuals, the about section, you have the opportunity to plunk in some of those visuals through maybe some emoji bullet points or some divider lines, again, just to break up the 2,000 character copy. And of course, copy then drifts right all the way through your profile. When they hit your work experience, you want to make sure you're still keeping them in the story, right? You want to keep these people in your story right through the end and want them wanting more. And that's what brings me to the third strand. The third strand, in my opinion, is the one that's the easiest to do, but it is the most forgotten. And of all I peruse LinkedIn profiles. I may have even perused yours. And I'm a stalker on LinkedIn to see what people are doing well with their profiles and where they fall short. And I find a lot of people forget this third strand. And it's so okay. It's the reason you are on LinkedIn is this third strand. And it is your call to. When you take that person on the journey with you through their LinkedIn profile, you need a next logical step for them at the end of their journey. And the next logical step is your call to action. Now, you might be thinking, but Leanne, I don't even know what I want out of LinkedIn. Never mind, think about a call to action that would make sense for my readers. And I hear you. It's one of the most common questions I hear about LinkedIn, about how do you tailor your profile for just one purpose or one audience or one individual. And for a lot of us, myself included, it's not just for one person or one audience or one individual. There's a number of audiences that you might be talking to. And so your call to action, it needs to resonate with each and every audience. And if you can't find a call to action that would be logical, the next logical step for all of your audiences in your network, then your call to action needs to be quite simply, connect with me here on LinkedIn, or follow my content on LinkedIn, or whatever that call to action again is. So you can sprinkle your call to action throughout your profile in a number of different places. I've included my call to action right in my background photo. Now, if you look at my profile right now, it's not actually up because I have a different call to action, which is the great thing again about the visuals, is you can always swap them out. So right now, my call to action in my visuals is to enroll in the LinkedIn course that I have open for enrollment right now. But when my course enrollment closes later this week, my banner photo and my call to action will change to something different. It's that next logical step I want the person who lands on my profile to take in order to engage with me. So make sure that you're sprinkling call to actions throughout your profile. Again, your background photo is a great place. Your about section is obviously a great place. A lot of people will put their call to action right at the bottom of their about section. Again, it could be anything from your email address to your phone number to, like I said, to follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn. Whatever that CTA is for you, make sure you're weaving it into your story so that when people get to the end of the story, they're not left wondering, well, what's next? How do I engage with this person further? So you don't want to put all of that work in, all of that hard work in to create these incredible visuals, to weave this incredible copy, and then leave them hanging about how to next engage with you or with your services. So those are my 3 strands for your LinkedIn profile. You've got your visuals, your copy, and don't forget your call to action. And when you weave those together, it creates a narrative that can engage your target audience, encourage them to take that next step with you. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful profile. I love those profiles. If I can see a profile that is woven those 3 together nicely, it's just a beautiful thing to see. So would love to hear if you have any questions about the 3 strands of your LinkedIn profile. Drop them in the chat. I know I'm talking really fast today. And I'm sorry, I think it's because I'm standing up. I don't know if anyone else noticed, but my camera looks different because I'm actually standing up. I've gotten one of those risers on my desk, and I actually feel winded. I think it's because I'm standing up, but I'm also very energized as well by standing up. So if I could talk about copy again for just a second, that's obviously one of the biggest pieces of your LinkedIn profile, and probably the one that may end up tripping you up the most because you're not sure what to write. And I get it. I mean, I revisit my profile on a constant basis. And I remember when I was first crafting my about section, even when I made this transition into personal branding services, it took me a full week to really land on what I wanted to appear in my about section on LinkedIn about my new services. And I do revisit these sections very often. Again, that's another tip I can impart on you is your LinkedIn profile can change over time. It'll change as your skill sets change. It'll change as your passions and talents change. And then, of course, it'll change if you change positions in the industry. That's an obvious change for you. So every 3 to 4 months, schedule some time in your calendar where you can go in and make those changes to your LinkedIn profile. Again, start from the very top, and with these 3 strands, you've got your visuals that you'll need to change, the copy, and potentially even your call to action. There's a lot of outdated garbage on LinkedIn that leads back to people's former places of employment. So if you are currently looking for employment or you've landed somewhere new, make sure your calls to action on your LinkedIn profile reflect your new place of employment, if that's where you want the people to go, so they're not drifting back to your former place of employment. So that's definitely key if you're looking for employment or you've recently switched gears in your career. So I'm just going to look. Everything looks in here is great. I appreciate that, Facebook user, because yesterday, I don't know if this Facebook user was on my masterclass yesterday, but in setting up my new desk, even though my audio was plugged in and all the settings looked right on my Zoom and on my computer, what else did I check? On my system settings, everything read for the correct audio, and no one can hear me. So it was 8 minutes of scrambling trying to figure out, because I might not be a tech geek, but I am a fast learner and I know where to go if my audio is not working, and I just couldn't figure it out. So all I had to do, apparently, by the way, this is now another tip you can put in your back pocket. If you think you've figured it out and you've MacGyvered everything on your computer and with your microphone and you still cannot figure out why people can't hear you on Zoom, leave the meeting and log back in. That's all I had to do. So I left the meeting, logged back in, and bada bing, bada boom, all my audio was working. In fact, they probably had 3 sources of audio by that point because I was scrambling. But anyways, I appreciate Madam Facebook user for telling me that you can hear me, because yesterday people couldn't hear me very well. Speaking of hearing, and this is about LinkedIn, I always bring it back to LinkedIn. I don't know if you are aware, I have started using this feature on LinkedIn, but when someone messages you on LinkedIn, you can obviously type an answer in response. And if you're using your desktop, you have to type an answer as a response. But if you're on your phone and you want to type or you want to send a response to someone who's messaged you, okay, we're talking about messages here. We're not talking about commenting on posts or anything. So I'm just going to pick a random message. I don't know if you can see this, but when you go to respond to a message on LinkedIn, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little microphone, and you can send them an audio response. So I've been starting to do that a little bit more. I can't take full credit for this. One of my connections sent me an audio response once, and now that I've figured out how to do it, it's a great little touch. You talk about setting yourself apart from your competition, especially using LinkedIn messaging, which can appear spammy, especially if a lot of people are sending those in-mail messages. Try responding with an audio message and see if you get any, any engagement from that. The engagement I get mostly from it is, oh my gosh, how did you do that? So then I teach them how I was able to send a little audio response versus a written response. So I'm quite enjoying that for sure. So yeah, thank you, Facebook user. Yes, it was, when it happened yesterday, obviously stressful. Everyone gets stressed out when they can't get their audio working. I think about the lawyer that showed up on his Zoom call with the judge, and the lawyer's Zoom filter had him appear as a cat. I mean, that's stressful, right? You're literally on a Zoom call with a judge and you are a cat like that. So I was thinking about him as I was fiddling with my audio. It's like, oh, it could be worse. I could be a cat. But I wasn't a cat. I was just didn't have my voice, quite literally. But yeah, once we got the video or the audio figured out, I was able to fall back into my masterclass material and away we went. So it was fun. It was a great class. Yesterday was a smaller class, so it wasn't as long, but my classes have been going for about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes with all the Q&A, which has been great. There's been a lot of great Q&A, questions about the course, of course. So questions about the course that is currently open for enrollment, but also questions obviously about LinkedIn, and in particular about pages. A lot of questions about pages, which is very encouraging. It makes me think, okay, we need to talk about pages more. Here's a place on LinkedIn that a lot of people are not capitalizing on. So either they're not capitalizing on using pages if they're an entrepreneur or they're a one-man show and they can have an organizational presence on LinkedIn. But the other thing is a lot of people aren't capitalizing on the great things that their organization's page is doing and how to, I guess, grow the brands of both of those entities. So when I get into a LinkedIn series again, closer to the summer, we're going to talk more about pages, because those are a lot of questions that came up yesterday. As prosaic as even, how do we even start a page? Where on LinkedIn do I go to start a LinkedIn page? So we're going to talk more about pages. But going back again to the 3 LinkedIn strands that I wanted to talk about today, I'm going to recap quickly if you're late for the call, but we're talking about how to weave your visuals, your copy, and your call to action, and how we weave them together to create a compelling story through your LinkedIn profile. For many of us, the LinkedIn profile is your only piece of online real estate. Your Facebook profile is your personal piece of online real estate, but unless you have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog or a website, which a lot of us as intrapreneurs, which means we're salespeople for another organization, as an intrapreneur, we do not have a piece of professional real estate on the World Wide Web, with the exception of our LinkedIn profile. So that's the other reason why I'm so passionate about ensuring that every single character that we write, every single visual that we upload, every single piece of media is relevant, is because that's the only professional real estate we have, on the World Wide Web. So let's make the most of it and make the most compelling story that we can to keep people coming back to our little piece of home on the World Wide Web. So I'm going to wrap up for today, unless you have any questions. I'm looking at questions via StreamYard, because that's the app I'm using, but I am going to just jump over into my Facebook group and it was Dino. Thank you for the comments, Dino. I see you now that those comments were for you. On StreamYard, it just said that you're Facebook generic user, but you are far from generic, my friend. So thank you for commenting on the video. If you don't have any questions, I am going to leave you with those 3 strands today. It's food for thought as you go through your LinkedIn profile. And as I mentioned, if you want even more assistance and more personal touch, creating the profile of your dreams, Profile to Profit is currently open for enrollment. Enrollment closes this Thursday. When it comes back in the summer, it likely will be at a higher price point. So if you're looking to save a little money as you work through your LinkedIn profile in 2021, now is the time to do it, because there is going to be a price increase as we go into the new season. Thank you so much for joining me on this Facebook Live. I hope you have an incredible week. And please do stay in touch. DM me if you have any questions about LinkedIn. I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now.